Massive impact caught on camera. A deadly missile strike slams a government building in Mykolaiv, Ukraine, killing at least 12 people, injuring dozens more. The Russian military forging ahead with ruthless attacks on civilian targets. But could Russia be signaling a strategic shift? Tonight, the Kremlin claims it will scale back assaults on two major cities. Ukraine's military adding that is Russian withdrawal from both cities. President Biden showing some skepticism as Russia and Ukraine plan to attempt high-stakes peace talks once again. The warrior women of Ukraine, keeping families together while in search of refuge, forced to leave behind husbands, sons, and fathers. I sat down with incredible pillars of strength, helping their loved ones adjust to new surroundings.
And how are you?
Як ви відчуваєте, що ви хочете, скажіть?
Додому. She wants to go home.
In time of crisis, countries bordering Ukraine channel brotherly love for refugees, despite a lack of their own resources. The open doors and open arms offered for those in need.
They're like our brothers. I love Ukraine. I visit Ukraine. I have relatives. My grandfather is from Ukraine.
UNICEF on a mission. My conversation with Orlando Bloom, who traveled to Moldova to meet with refugees about the emergency efforts to protect unaccompanied and vulnerable children.
The women can hand over their children in a safe space. The children can have a sense of connection to play and toys, and they can just take a moment and then rest, have a meal, and then also sort of think about where they might be going next.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis reporting in from Poland once again tonight. Thank you so much for streaming with us. New claims tonight from Russia that it will reduce military presence near Kyiv, but U.S. officials are not convinced, and neither are Ukrainians, many of whom would like nothing more than to return home but fear for their safety. We spoke with 3 generations of refugees here in Warsaw today. A mother unable to fight back tears as she worries about the physical and emotional trauma of the war on her family and her country. A war, she says, only one man, Putin, wants. Many also believe Putin is the only person who can end this war. Perhaps the biggest concrete step toward that goal took place in Turkey today, where Ukrainian and Russian diplomats held the first face-to-face talks in weeks. The talks were held despite reports that at a previous meeting, 2 Ukrainians and a Russian oligarch were poisoned. This time, Ukraine warned its delegation not to eat or drink anything and to avoid touching services. Russia is calling today's talks constructive, but the White House is skeptical. James Longman leads us off tonight, once again from Kyiv.
Tonight, Russia now signaling a major shift in strategy. Following direct face-to-face peace talks today in Turkey, the Kremlin is now saying for the first time that it will drastically reduce combat operations around the capital of Kyiv and Chernihiv in the north, but later adding that does not mean a ceasefire. Ukrainian soldiers won't be dropping their guard. The White House tonight saying they are seeing Russian troops move away from Kyiv, but stress they believe the movement is a redeployment, not a withdrawal. Tonight, President Biden speaking with European leaders, greeting Russia's promise skeptically.
We'll see. I don't read anything into it until I see what their actions are. We'll see if they follow through on what they're suggesting.
And tonight, the Pentagon is hardly convinced the Russians mean what they say.
We're not taking anything they say at face value. We're not prepared to buy the Russian argument that it's a withdrawal. Again, our assessment is that their intention is to reposition forces and bolster their efforts elsewhere.
Tonight, Russian troops are here, just 15 miles from the center of Kyiv to the north, west, and east. Over 10 incidents of Russian shelling into residential areas were reported near the city today. If they do pull back, they may redeploy here to the eastern Donbass region, which today they said they want to liberate. That sets up the next phase of this bloody war, and not something Ukraine would accept as part of any deal. Both sides also suggesting a meeting is possible between Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Zelensky, but only when an agreement is signed. Ukraine tonight calling for a new system of legally binding security guarantees. So, if the country is attacked in the future, there's a treaty in place, similar to NATO's Article 5, where guarantor countries, including the US, will be legally obligated to provide weapons and impose a no-fly zone. In exchange, and once Russian troops are gone, Ukraine would agree to become a non-nuclear, neutral state. The war still raging. Russia today striking the city of Mykolaiv in the south. New video seen here in slow motion shows the moment of impact when a missile slams into a government building. It killed at least 12 people. Dozens more were injured.
James Longman joins us now from Kyiv tonight. And James, we see Russia saying that they're pulling back their forces, but what are you actually seeing and hearing on the ground in Kyiv?
Well, Lindsay, for the last few hours, we've just heard the repeated sound of artillery slamming into the suburbs. They're actually the very areas that Russia would need to vacate if they were going to abide by this new promise that they've made to redirect their forces. Remember, Russia has specifically not agreed to a ceasefire. So even if they decide to reorientate their forces towards the east, it doesn't mean that their bombardment of the country will stop. In fact, there's every likelihood that it will continue because they will probably try to pin as many Ukrainian forces down in this region in the hope that they can divert their attention so that they want to go towards the Donbass and occupy that part of the country. Tonight, President Zelensky of Ukraine has said it best. He said that these peace signals don't silence the sound of Russian shells. Lindsay?
Yeah, many not willing to take what they're saying at face value. James Longman, our thanks to you. And for more on today's high-stakes peace talks in Istanbul, I want to go to Kurt Volker, who served as a U.S. ambassador to NATO and later worked in Ukraine. Ambassador, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Russia says that they'll cut back attacks in Kyiv and Chernihiv, but the Pentagon is describing this more like a redeployment than a withdrawal. And President Biden said, quote, "We'll see." How skeptical do you think that U.S. officials should be about Russia's readout from today's negotiations?
Well, I think what the Russians are doing is providing a cover story for what is a needed military withdrawal and regrouping on their part. The Ukrainians have stopped the offensive. The Russians are not able to advance anymore. They are cutting off supply lines, and now they're picking off the Russian forces that remain there. And so the Russians have a military need to get those forces out of there, and they're trying to cover that military need with making it sound like an offer in negotiations that they will let up attacks on some of the major cities. And what will happen here is if they do regroup, they do pull away, they are not promising to leave Ukraine as a whole. And this is, I think, a key demand that the Ukrainians have made that Russia has not even addressed, which is not only to stop the firing, but to get their forces out of Ukraine.
As these talks played out, the missile strikes continued, with at least a dozen killed when a government building was hit in southern Ukraine. How does Russia retain any credibility at the bargaining table while continuing its attacks in other parts of the country?
They don't. They don't have any credibility, and I don't think they really worry about that. They are pursuing a military offensive, and they are trying to break the Ukrainians' will, and they're trying to bluff their way through to getting the Ukrainians to give concessions. And I think the Ukrainians see through that, and they're going to hang very tough.
On the Ukrainian side, negotiators have laid out a framework where Ukraine would remain neutral and not join NATO. But would joining the European Union and having security backing from several regional powers, possibly including the U.S., given what we've witnessed in the months since the invasion began, are those terms that you could see Russia agreeing to?
Well, I think the main reason that Zelensky is putting that on the table is to expose the fact that Putin has been making this up all along. Putin has said that the threat to Russia is from NATO and from Ukraine being a member of NATO, and this is why they had to invade Ukraine. So Zelensky is deliberately putting this on the table to show that Putin is not accepting it, and therefore the reason he is engaging in this aggression has nothing to do with Ukraine and NATO. It is about his own fantasies of reestablishing a Russian empire. Now, if you were to have Ukraine as a neutral state, there are models for that. Finland and Sweden have been models for that. But actual security guarantees, I don't think are really credible unless NATO is behind them. That's the thing that has proven to work.
And lastly, the billionaire owner of the Chelsea soccer club, Roman Abramovich, an ally of Russian President Vladimir Putin, he's now taken on an unofficial role in the peace negotiations and was spotted in Istanbul today. Abramovich has already been sanctioned by the UK and EU. He was also among those reportedly poisoned and who's recovered after peace talks earlier this month. What role could he be playing in negotiations, and what do you make of the reported poisoning?
Well, first off, it's very unclear. The Russians have said that he is not officially representing Russian positions, even though he does have some relationship with Vladimir Putin. So it's unclear what his role really is. The Ukrainians are certainly wary of what the role is that he's playing as well. Ultimately, what matters in these negotiations is Putin deciding that the military operation is failing and he needs to end it. I don't believe he has come to that conclusion yet. So against that, I think all of these negotiations are still a bit of political theater. As far as the poisoning goes, look, Russia has poisoned people in the past. We've seen it with Navalny, with Skripal, with Litvinenko in London. It's certainly possible that there's a poisoning here. At the same time, we just don't know. We don't know enough of the facts. And there might be other reasons why this story is out there as well.
And let me just follow up before I let you go on what you just said there. The suggestion that the peace talks are political theater. So do you feel that there will not be any kind of resolution that comes as a result of these talks?
I think it's the other way around. I think it's what happens on the battlefield that sets the conditions, and that is when talks can be useful or not. The talks themselves are not going to drive the conditions on the ground.
Makes sense. All right. Ambassador Kurt Volker, we thank you so much for your time and insight.
Thank you.
The crush of refugees pouring into Poland and neighboring countries from Ukraine has slowed, but the steady stream of families seeking help certainly has not. We're talking about an estimated 4 million people so far, and Warsaw, where we are, happens to be the epicenter of this refugee influx. Earlier this evening, I was able to speak with the mayor of Warsaw about the road ahead. And joining us now is the mayor of Warsaw here in Poland, Rafał Trzaskowski. We thank you so much for your time and joining us tonight. Give us a sense of the real number, the latest numbers as far as refugees that you have here and how you're holding up.
Well, we have a rotation of refugees, so we have around 300,000 in Warsaw alone, which is a huge number. I mean, to give you a sense of it, you know, when we had a Mediterranean crisis in 2015, 200,000 refugees were coming to Europe a month. Now we have 300,000 in, 3 weeks just in one city.
And I want to read a tweet that you sent out. You said, this is a gigantic challenge and a huge operation. It is investment in infrastructure. It is the need to hire the necessary personnel. And all of this will require a lot of money. That is why the direct support of local government from the EU would be so valuable. We strive for it daily. Realistically, how much money do you feel that you need in order to truly help?
It's very hard to say because, you know, now we are focusing on giving accommodation to the people, feeding them. We are focusing on everyday needs, and we also think about registering them, so there are some administrative burdens. But long term, the Ukrainian citizens have been granted an access to free education, to free healthcare. So these costs will be really huge. So we are trying to assess that. But imagine this, we have 280,000 kids in Warsaw attending our schools. We have 100,000 new kids just in Warsaw. 13,000 already attend our schools. So this is really like a huge challenge, also financially, but you know, we have to organize it.
And who do you see as chief as far as the responsibility goes with organizing that to make sure that the kids are in school? A lot of the kids that we've been seeing who are staying in people's homes, who are at some of these shelters, are not going to school every day.
What you're seeing, you know, is this incredible solidarity of the Polish people. But much of that has been improvised. You know, it's the people, it's the non-governmental organizations, it is the local government. Of course, there is a role for the central government as well. So now we need a system. We need to be prepared. And that's why the European Union has to be here. The United Nations agencies, which are well prepared to deal with a crisis of that magnitude, have to be here. We need help. We need coordination. We cannot do it alone.
Do you feel that you're getting some of that help, or you still have a lot more ahead?
Well, you know, we have very important pledges. President Biden was here to reassure us about our security, but he also said that the United States of America is ready to welcome 100,000 refugees. Prime Minister Trudeau said the same. Many other European leaders said the same. Now we just need to prepare a system because the Ukrainians are fighting for our freedom as well. We need to do our bit. We all need to step up and share the responsibility.
And you talked earlier about the generosity, the kindness of many of the people here in Poland who have been opening up their homes. How sustainable do you feel that that is long term?
But that's a real concern for us all because, you know, we want to help everyone and we're opening our hearts and, of course, we are going to welcome whoever needs help. But if a strain on the public services, schools, health system will be so huge, the solidarity might wane in a few weeks. And I'm a mayor of the city. I need to take care, first of all, of the city so that it functions well, and, of course, of the refugees. I need to do both.
What is your most immediate need right now?
Right now, it's, you know, I'm thinking about how to register 300,000 people because now all my social workers, work with refugees. All my psychologists work with refugees. And also most of my administrative stuff is now registering 300,000 people because we give them our identity numbers, our social security numbers, so that they can use healthcare and education. So that's a huge burden.
Do you notice this difference in the last 4 weeks when the population has now swollen by more than 300,000?
You know, I'm so proud of it because this is not like people come here to Warsaw and they expect, you know, refugees being in tents somewhere in the parks and so on. No, they're integrated into our society. I see my neighbors going to a sidewalk to have fun with 4 kids, 2 of their own and 2 of their Ukrainian friends. I mean, that's how it looks like. It's just Ukrainians are among us, but they're with us. They're in our homes, they're participating in our life, and that's the beauty of it.
Mayor Rafał Kaczewskowski, we thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you joining us. We'll shift now to the fight against COVID. The FDA has now authorized a second booster for Americans over the age of 50 years old who are determined to be a vulnerable age group. This guidance comes as half of eligible people have yet to get their initial booster shot. ABC's Eva Pilgrim has this report for us.
Tonight, a green light for a second booster shot of Moderna and Pfizer for Americans over 50 and the immunocompromised. Health officials pointing to waning protection.
If it's been at least 4 months since you've been vaccinated with your first booster dose, you should seriously consider getting another booster dose.
The new boosters will be available to anyone over 50, but the CDC says they are especially important for people over 65 and people over 50 with underlying health conditions, which puts them at higher risk for severe outcomes from COVID.
If you're older, probably you walk a little faster to get the 4th shot.
These boosters can go into arms right away at pharmacies and doctors' offices.
If this is something that's going to keep me and my family and my friends from getting sick, then I'm willing to do it.
The FDA is also telling Americans to be prepared for another booster this fall. The hope is that this latest round of boosters will help protect against a new wave of COVID like we are now seeing overseas. The highly contagious subvariant BA2 is now dominant in the U.S., making up an estimated 55% of new infections.
It's starting to create a surge in many parts of the country. So it makes sense that many people may want to up their immunity as we potentially head into a surge.
Concerns about yet another surge. Meantime, the House investigation of the January 6th riot has uncovered a 7-hour gap in the White House call records that day as the committee debates now whether to ask Virginia Thomas to come in for questioning. ABC's chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl has the very latest.
The January 6th committee is looking into an hours-long gap in the official White House logs of Donald Trump's phone calls on the day his supporters attacked the Capitol. The Washington Post and CBS are now reporting that gap was 7 hours and 37 minutes. 7 hours and 37 minutes without any record of the president's calls. The logs do show several calls earlier that morning before the riot began, including one from Steve Bannon. The day before, Bannon had fired up Trump's supporters on his podcast.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow.
Bannon told them, "This is your time in history."
And all I can say is strap in. You have made this happen, and tomorrow it's game day.
On the morning of January 6th, the president also spoke twice to his personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, who addressed the rally hours later.
Let's have trial by combat.
The January 6th committee is now preparing to hold a series of primetime public hearings likely to begin in May.
If we don't stand for our freedom and our republic, we will lose them.
Jonathan Karl joins us now. John, there may not be any records, but we do know that Trump had phone conversations during the riot, correct?
We sure do. We knew that day, in fact, that he had talked to Kevin McCarthy because Kevin McCarthy spoke about his conversations with Donald Trump while the riot was underway. We also know he spoke to Senator Mike Lee, Senator Tommy Tuberville. There were likely other calls. As for why those calls are not reflected in these official White House call logs, we don't know for sure. But, Lindsay, I can tell you that while he was president, Trump frequently made calls on his own personal cell phone, and he frequently took calls that came into the phones of his top aides. Now, those calls are official White House records and should be reflected, but apparently in this case, were not.
All right, Jonathan Karl, our thanks to you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Now to the brutal, unseasonably cold weather and the new severe weather outbreak. 75 million Americans on alert tonight. Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z, who's enjoying some warmer weather just in a T-shirt tonight.
That's right, Lindsay, and we are out ahead of storms. So the warmth, of course, as we were talking about just last week, instigates those storms. So here in Mississippi, we are in the target zone. After a week ago, we saw nearly 70 confirmed tornadoes. Most of the surveys are complete. Some folks just got power back, and now we're doing it again. Severe thunderstorm watches are already started popping tonight for eastern Nebraska, western Iowa. Kansas City's included there, in eastern Kansas, Wichita. That threat goes all the way down to Waco through the overnight hours, and then by tomorrow, it's going to be a very similar setup to last week, but it's an even broader region that's included in not just that really strong QLCS, that quasi-linear convective system that we like to call it, but those embedded tornadoes. You'll have those spin-ups, and sometimes those could be on the ground for some time. So anybody from Tuscaloosa and Birmingham up to Memphis, down to Biloxi, over to Baton Rouge. There are so many folks, including Alexandria, Louisiana, all included in this really high. It's the 4 out of 5 level from SPC. So we're watching that for tomorrow. Then by Thursday, it does kind of split up the mid-Atlantic and then down in South Georgia over to the Florida Panhandle. Lindsay?
All right, Ginger Z, our thanks to you. Lots to keep an eye on. And when we come back, we have met so many strong, resilient women struggling to keep their families together despite the war often forcing them to split up. You'll hear some of their remarkable stories. But up next, our Maggie Ruley travels to the other nations near Ukraine, opening their doors to refugees in their own unique way. For all the evil this war has unleashed, it's also opened up hearts across Eastern Europe. We'll see her journey next.
More Americans choose ABC News, America's #1 news source. America's #1 news, ABC News. Most watched, most trusted, and streaming live to you anytime, anywhere, and free. This is ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news, free to you 24/7. Watch America's #1 news whenever you want it, wherever you are, anytime. ABC News Live, streaming live and free on all platforms.
Admit it, these days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
It's all about you.
Take America's #1 news with you, anywhere you go, anytime, free. Download the ABC News app now. Breaking news, exclusives, 24/7. There for you with one touch. The ABC News app. Download it now.
It was a scary time in the 70s. You had multiple bodies showing up in Los Angeles.
There were so many murders happening. You had to have a name for it, serial killer.
There was a human head in there. This was premeditated evil.
You have this clock. This person is going to do this again.
It's me against the killer. Who's going to win?
We'll see who laughs last.
What came next was unlike anything they had ever seen.
He thought he was God.
He's now one of the most vilified men in the world. He is the everyman. Zelensky is the Tom Hanks of Ukraine.
The fact that a little nice Jewish boy is 5'7" is showing up this KGB agent in the Kremlin.
What do you say to Americans who see Russia and you not only as a rival, but an unfriendly adversary?
Two men at war.
Which Vladimir will take over. The world is not going to be the same.
Christopher Steele.
The guy who picked a fight with 2 presidents, and he's lived to tell the tale.
That now infamous dossier.
Supposedly a tape showing prostitutes hired by Donald Trump urinating on a bed, and would be quite a tape if it in fact existed.
I said take out the PP tape.
It quickly became a question of how much of this was accurate.
This is the stuff of movies.
A lot of this is the stuff of movies. A story of epic proportions.
Phony stuff.
It's a bunch of crap. It changed history.
The deeper you go into black markets, the darker it gets.
Traffic, Wednesdays at 9 on National Geographic.
While the majority of Ukrainians who have fled their homes have come here to Poland, there are 4 other countries on Ukraine's western and southern borders that have also seen a large influx of refugees since this conflict began raging 1 month ago. So ABC's Maggie Rulli traveled along that border to see how those countries are opening up and the concern about what comes next.
More than 650 miles through wide-open, empty lands and tightly packed villages, our team drove the southern border of Ukraine. Standing at the crossings, where more than 1 million Ukrainian refugees have escaped in the past month. Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, Moldova. Their borders are open, but compared to Poland, these southern countries are much smaller, often have far fewer resources, and they live with their own complicated relationship with Russia. The only non-NATO, non-EU country along the border, Moldova, shares more in common with Ukraine than perhaps any other country. But at just a fraction of the size, the number of refugees passing over the border this past month is crushing, now making up about 15% of the country's entire population.
We just crossed over the border here into Moldova, and not only is it the smallest country to share a border with Ukraine, it's also the poorest in all of Europe, which means that even though they're opening up their borders, the burden here of taking on these refugees is being felt by everyone.
With few resources and a growing number of people in need, Moldova transformed itself overnight, finding any way they could to help.
They're like our brothers. I love Ukraine. I visit Ukraine. I have relatives. My grandfather is from Ukraine.
At just 17, Katie immediately threw herself into the volunteer effort, showing up to help at this old cinema. It had been standing empty for 4 years, now converted into a shelter, able to house 200 people.
They are our brothers, our neighbors.
Her work meant a safe place to sleep last night for Irina and her 4-year-old son, Arkady. Irina didn't want to leave Odessa. Her other son turned 18 in October and is now old enough to fight and isn't allowed to leave Ukraine. She and her young son left after a gut-wrenching conversation with her eldest, who told her she had to go to save his little brother so that at least one son would survive. There's a shared kinship felt across the border here. Like Ukraine, Moldova was part of the USSR. Families often live across borders, and the two countries call each other brothers. There's also a shared understanding of the threat Russia poses.
Perhaps no other country can really empathize with the fear of Russian aggression better than Moldova, a former Soviet country. It only became independent in 1991. There are attacks happening in Odessa right now, less than 40 miles from its border. And years ago, Russia took over a part of the country, an area called Transnistria, just about an hour from us here in the capital. So many people here tell us they're watching what happens in Ukraine and are living in fear of what could happen to them next.
Dan Romanescu was born in Transnistria. He's now letting refugees stay in his rental properties in the city.
And you were saying where you were born is actually now controlled by Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that scary at all to know that?
Yeah. In my opinion, everybody who is living at the moment there, they are like zombie because of Russian propaganda. They are thinking that Russia is the best country in the world.
He says he knows they could be next, but until then, Moldova will keep fighting for their neighbors. Hungary's border with Ukraine runs just 84 miles, the smallest of any country. It's dotted with small towns that can often feel like they're from another time.
Here in Bereg-Sharam, it is a tiny town. Just about 600 people live here. And we're right on the border. Ukraine is just about a mile that way. So when war broke out, all of a sudden, there were thousands of refugees fleeing through these quiet streets.
The town scrambled, filling a local gym full of beds for refugees and setting up this welcome center. And a surreal sight for such a small village, a presidential visit. Hungary's president-elect Katalin Novak handing out pancakes to refugees, something that's become a tradition here in town.
When people are really fleeing from their homes, then we are there to help them, and that's what we should do.
Stop, everybody, stop! But Hungary's relationship with refugees and migrants is complicated and often controversial. The UN criticizing Prime Minister Viktor Orban for what they call his harsh migration policies. His government erecting a razor wire fence to keep out people fleeing war and conflict in places like Syria in 2015. This small town and the incoming president, traditionally conservative and against migration from outside Europe. Now they're welcoming Ukrainians fleeing violence within Europe with open arms, a contrast on full display.
Hungarian people are peace-loving people. That is for us very important, and Hungarian people are welcoming people. So we always welcome refugees. Our position vis-a-vis migration, mass migration, it's another issue.
For now, Hungary and its small border towns keeping their arms open for Ukrainian refugees. Romania's border with Ukraine stretches 381 long and often empty miles.
You can see how much open space there is here. Romania has the largest border with Ukraine of any other EU country, and so many people we meet say they chose to escape here because they can simply afford it.
The cost of basic goods in Romania is some of the cheapest in all of the EU. Perhaps a small reprieve for some Ukrainians. The war only exasperating economic challenges. Wives forced to leave their husbands behind, suddenly becoming the sole providers for their children. We meet Alana Yakubento and her daughter Katya moments after they cross the border. Katya's eyes light up when she sees the bag of toys put out by UNICEF and Save the Children.
Beaver!
Katya's mom tells us they're from Kyiv and live right by the TV tower that was hit a few weeks ago. When one of Katya's classmates was killed, she knew it was time to go. UNICEF says more than half of all Ukrainian children have been forced to flee their homes. Some, often teenagers, come alone. They've set up blue dot safety points along the borders, making sure all kids and families know they have a safe place to go.
The border is just about 100 yards up that way,
Yes.
and the blue dot is like one of the first things that families see when they cross the border. Why is that so important?
It is important because they can be informed here about the children, the protection, not to be in a risk.
Katya's one of the lucky ones. She left with one of her parents. They're safe now, but their hearts are torn. Katya's dad had to stay back in Kyiv. She FaceTimes him to let him know they made it safely to the other side. Katya clutching her new stuffed animal the entire time. Less than a mile from the Ukrainian border in Slovakia, Father Pavel Novak welcomes us into his church.
It's so beautiful.
A beacon of faith built by this small community years ago. He says its doors are now open to refugees fleeing from Ukraine, regardless of their beliefs. Since the start of the war, Father Pavel's welcomed more than 100 refugees, giving them a home in this former school nearby. When we visit, 34 people are living here, many fleeing from Ukraine's hard-hit east.
Are these your kids?
Yes.
Alona escaped here with her sister-in-law Anastasia and their kids from Kyiv. They both had to leave their husbands behind. But seeing their kids now, laughing and playing with their cousins, it's here, she says, with Father Pavel, that she finally found peace.
Spooky.
It's one of 24 homes that this small region has opened up. Everything inside donated by locals. Kirill and his mom Anastasia share this small room with her friend Victoria. They're now safe, waiting here until they figure out where they can move next. But for Victoria, her heart is torn. Her entire family was left behind.
Hello.
She says she's grateful Father Pavel let her keep her dog with her. It's the only piece of home she now has.
No puppy.
Father Pavel offering what little happiness he can. He tells us how in Orthodox Christianity, the sermons are always sung, and as the sun sets, he prays for all of those who pass through these doors.
This is where they come to forget the pain, the suffering, the bad thoughts that they have. Here, they can really feel the peace.
His house of worship, so close to the chaos of war, offering what feels like a brief moment away from it all. As the numbers of those fleeing continue to grow and fears of a second, even larger wave of refugees loom, many worry that these small countries may not remain so welcoming. But for now, we find countries opening up their doors and their hearts to their neighbor. We stumble into this little slice of joy in Moldova's capital of Chisinau, of life being lived well, of people giving back, knowing that one day they too may need help.
Quite a blessing to still see some of those slices of joy. Our thanks to Maggie for that. Still ahead here on Prime, the TikTok star who made headlines after her father killed a stalker who showed up at their house. Now she takes a stand in another stalking case. And a new initiative to make the NFL more diverse and inclusive. We take a look by the numbers. But first, our tweet of the day. Jada Pinkett Smith weighs in on the slap seen around the world.
The deeper you go into black markets, the darker it gets.
Trafficked, Wednesdays at 9 on National Geographic.
Right now, with so much at stake, Sunday mornings, this is the place. Taking on all the tough questions. Straightforward reporting. No spin, no hype, no bull. Thank you for making ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos the #1 Sunday morning news show versus the competition.
Welcome to This Week.
It was a scary time in the 70s. You had multiple bodies showing up in Los Angeles.
There were so many murders happening. You had to have a name for it, serial killer.
There was a human head in there. This was premeditated evil.
We have this clock. This person is going to do this again.
It's me against the killer. Who's going to win?
We'll see who laughs last.
What came next was unlike anything they had ever seen.
Is that the gun?
That's not the gun.
What is it? I won't ask you again then. Are you a Nazi?
The deeper you go into black markets,
you could be putting your life at risk.
the darker it gets.
Why hasn't anyone come out and spoken?
It's about the money. That's why we do it.
Trafficked, new episodes Wednesdays at 9 on National Geographic.
These days, with so much going on, it's hard to keep up.
While others are recapping yesterday's headlines,
We're bringing you the right now.
This is the busy border crossing. Steel barricades, another strike.
the right now look at the day ahead, how it affects you and your family.
Record high gas prices.
The threat of cyber warfare.
Is peace possible?
World News Now beginning at 2 a.m. Eastern, followed by America This Morning,
America's #1 early morning news.
streaming here on ABC News Live.
Take America's #1 news with you anywhere you go, anytime, free. Download the ABC News app now. Breaking news, exclusives, 24/7. There for you with one touch. The ABC News app. Download it now.
I risked my life. If I was caught, they would have put a bullet in my head.
That would have been one of the most deadly acts of domestic terrorism ever in the United States.
He put himself in jeopardy for us.
Welcome back, everyone. The NFL is making some changes to try to boost their low numbers of minority coaches. Let's take a look by the numbers. The league announced a new policy that all 32 teams will have to hire at least one minority offensive assistant coach for the 2022 season, and that the candidate can be either a woman or a member of a racial or ethnic minority group. There are currently only 5 minority head coaches in the NFL. The league says that the goal of the new hiring mandate is to widen the pool of eventual minority head coaching candidates, which often come from the offensive side of the ball. There are already a record 15 minority defensive coordinators set for the season. The NFL's Rooney Rule was also updated to include women, with teams now required to interview at least 2 external minority candidates for top positions, with women now qualifying to meet that requirement. There are currently a record 12 women on NFL coaching staffs. Overall, minority coaches now make up 39% of the league total. That's up from 35% a year ago. But more than 70% of NFL players are people of color. And an NFL diversity report last year found that 82% of head coaching hires in the past decade went to white men, with the NFL commissioner acknowledging the league has fallen short on the issue. And we still have lots to get to here on Prime tonight, including our conversation with actor Orlando Bloom. He is UNICEF's Goodwill Ambassador, and he just came back from Moldova. And we'll have more on the incredible generosity he saw displayed toward refugees in that nation, and also how you can help. And the American couple in Poland doing what they can to help a family from Ukraine they had never met before. And it all began after a Facebook post. But first, A look at our top trending stories on abcnews.com.
The most powerful stories of our time, anytime. Nightline.
Now streaming on ABC News Live 2020. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues, the hunt. True crime 2020. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
National parks are incredibly safe places, but crime will happen.
My wife is fallen. She's in really critical condition.
At that time, I thought it was just a tragic accident.
There's still a lot of questions we need to ask.
There were small things that didn't totally add up.
This is 2 lives for Harold that have died now. I was shocked. Something's not right.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
It's all about you.
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there.
She revealed she had murdered his family.
I know in my heart that he did this.
It's the time of suspicion.
The ending's really tough.
You don't know whether truth is going to be difficult to find unless you try to find it.
America's #1 news, ABC News. Most watched, most trusted, and streaming live to you anytime, anywhere, and free. This is ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news, free to you 24/7. Watch America's #1 news whenever you want it, wherever you are, anytime. ABC News Live, streaming live and free on all platforms. This week on GMA, we have one word for you.
Incredible.
Because the incredible Sarah Jessica Parker and Matthew Broderick are kickstarting the morning on...
Good morning, America. The emergency response to the war in Ukraine has focused in on the nearly 4 million people who have fled for safety, including 1.8 million children. UNICEF has scaled up its efforts to help protect and take care of those children and their families. UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador and actor Orlando Bloom joins us now to talk about UNICEF's efforts. Orlando, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's great that you're there.
So you recently went to Moldova to meet some of the refugees staying there. And tell us about the people who you met and also share some of their stories.
I did, yeah, I was there last week. I think one of the things that struck me sort of immediately is that in Moldova, nearly 80% of the refugees arriving in Moldova are staying in host families. I met a remarkable man called Hugo who'd had, I believe, 20 families already through his home within the first 3 weeks, so 4 weeks as soon as the war began. And he was rather wonderful, actually. He even called them special guests rather than refugees. He was a really remarkable man.
Special guests, that is probably a more endearing term, as you say. And UNICEF has established these blue dot hubs for families seeking refuge. Explain what these blue dot spaces are.
Yeah, so in Moldova and along the border there, basically when the women and children come in, and I'm sure as you're experiencing, they're just completely shell-shocked. And so it's an opportunity for them to, the women can hand over their children in a safe space. The children can have a sense of connection to play and toys, and they can just take a moment and then rest, have a meal, and then also sort of think about where they might be going next and what the future holds and what their options are.
And you talked about, many of the mothers leaving with their children. In some cases, it's children alone who are fleeing by themselves. What's the concern for unaccompanied or separated children, and what do we need to do in order to protect them?
The amazing thing about the Blue Dot is that they'll register families, they'll take any documentation they have so that they can know who they are and where they are. But as you say, undocumented, underage, undocumented children traveling alone are, of course, the major concern is that they get trafficked and taken into society in a way that is out of our hands or out of our knowing, and then, who knows what happens. So it's really what UNICEF has done is register families and unaccompanied minors.
And Moldova is among the poorest countries in Europe, and yet still they are opening their doors to their neighbors in Ukraine. What can you say about the generosity of the people of Moldova?
It's truly, truly remarkable. I mentioned, Hugo, of course, that everybody I met, they just rolled up their sleeves and are doing everything they can. They understand. I think, having had been through their own conflicts, of course, and not so long ago themselves, they are just remarkable, really. We visited another center where, there are so many volunteers who are helping with the children. I'm seeing the photographs now, and they come in and out, and these young women and men come in to just play with the kids and engage with them and create this safe space and build toys, and it's psychosomatic care, all of the essential things that you can imagine that and even that you can't think of. UNICEF's providing on the ground, which is a great relief.
And you've been a UNICEF ambassador since 2009. What first inspired you to get involved?
I think it's that the children, and this really is a child's refugee crisis, are the most vulnerable and are in need of our attention more than anyone. And obviously, UNICEF is this remarkable organization that's been doing this, and I've seen it now I've been on so many field trips, many over the years, but I suppose my love of life and my appreciation of having kids of my own. I have an 11 and a 2.5-year-old, and the idea that either of my children or anyone's children should be going through what we cannot really fathom. It's not until you're sitting or standing in front of these children that you really feel the grief and the pain and how fortunate we are.
Yeah, certainly they will need help for many months and years to come. For our viewers who would like to help these refugees, or as you referred to them so aptly, so appropriately as the special guests, how can people help and get involved with UNICEF?
I think you can go onto the website and you can certainly give whatever you can to help them to continue doing the work that they do, essentially. I spoke to so many friends who were like, we're coming over, we want to be there. And of course, everybody, the instance, that you see this and you understand that everybody wants to go. And of course, there's so much, I have so much sort of admiration for that, as I felt I needed to see it. But UNICEF is on the ground, and they've been doing this for a long time. And as I say, I was in the Ukraine just 4 years ago with in eastern Ukraine, and so they have this they have an understanding of that. So if there's anything, really, it's to give what you can to the organization so that they can get the work done and continue to do the great work that they're doing.
Orlando Bloom, we thank you so much for the great work that you are doing, and also appreciate your time and joining us tonight. And to our viewers, here's how you can help. Head to unicefusa.org/ABC.
Thank you.
Finally tonight, and this is something that we have really seen throughout our time in Warsaw, the women who are carrying the burden for their families as their husbands, sons, and fathers remain in Ukraine fighting. But the resilience of these strong-minded women warriors here in Warsaw has really been quite something to witness.
It keeps going on in my head. Why what for? And why children are dying? They go on dying. Only one person wants this war.
Olga Zakrevska's tears belie her toughness. Her son, Bogdan, just 7 years old, tries to keep a brave face, surrounded by the sadness of his mother and both grandmothers.
So we say that we've got the war. Russians are our enemies. I think that there is no need to deceive, because they should know that there is good, there is evil, and but I always think I go on telling him that the evil will die.
His pictures are connected only with the war. He draws pictures with bomb explosions, tanks with Ukrainian flags, fire. And sometimes he also verbalizes his emotions from inside.
What does he say?
I'll kill him. I'll kill Putin.
Oh, yeah.
I want him to die. Because he captures all the news, he captures our conversations among the members of the family. So looks like the emotions of kids are converted into their brain, into their thinking, into their imaginations. It is kind of psychological crisis.
What do you know about the war? What's happening in Ukraine right now? His answer needs no translation.
Про то, что Путин дебил.
А что еще? Devil, yeah, evil devil, yeah.
Olga is now in Poland with her mother, son, and mother-in-law. And how are you?
Додому.
She wants to go home.
She wants to come
Because
to
her husband, my husband, her son, and my
husband and her another son there.
My brother-in-law, her second son, they are there. And she goes on telling us, I want to go home, They don't want her to come because it's unsafe now.
Olga explains their ties to Kyiv run deep, and they were hesitant to even leave.
We had been staying for quite a long period there in Kyiv because we had a strong belief in our Ukrainian forces. Before the missile struck our region, Bolan region where we live, and that was the crucial moment when my husband told me to take my children, my mother-in-law, his mother, and to keep children safe.
That's where Nancy and Mike Teske came in. The American couple is here in Poland teaching and wanted to help.
Why would you not help? I mean, whatever it is, 3 million people are displaced, and 50% of them are children. How could you? Not everybody we know is doing something.
My mother was a refugee, post-war Germany, and so part of me has always been empathetic.
We picked them up at the bus stop here and have been helping them since.
But maybe with the help of Mike, with the help of Nancy, we are very good supported here by them. I don't know what we would have done here without their help. It is kind of...
They are our angels.
So many here are relying on the kindness of strangers as their husbands, fathers, and sons stay behind to fight. Moments of calm have been hard to come by for actress Venera Ibragimova. She, too, was forced to leave Ukraine when a missile struck near her home. The theater she opened there and everything she worked for left behind. After her long journey to Warsaw, she sought refuge in this theater, fighting back tears of gratitude as she speaks of the generosity shown to her and her children. Now back on her feet, she's fighting to preserve her country's heritage, teaching classes like this one to refugee children about their language and customs. She says the easiest way to destroy people's identity is to destroy their culture. This young girl arrived to Warsaw just 3 weeks ago, proudly showing off the new song she learned in Polish.
The war has displaced 1 in 4 Ukrainians. That includes half of Ukraine's 7.5 million population of children. More than 2 million of those refugees are now here in Poland. This Warsaw Refugee Center, a way station of sorts, is filled with little things that might give these brave women a chance to make their children rest easy, if only for a moment. The horror of what they escaped still etched into their memory. This gathering in Warsaw gives them a much-needed moment of levity.
It's a great way to them, make them healthy and try to forget what they hurt and feel.
This is the tricky one.
Alexandra Biznosik now putting on a brave face behind her T-Rex costume after a harrowing escape from Ukraine with her 2 children.
We didn't expect that it's changed our life, my life, and life of my children.
She's now dressing up as a T-Rex alongside this man from Poland, who she filmed cheering up kids at a Warsaw train station.
People from all over the world start writing me, hey, did you saw you are popular in States? Did you saw you are popular somewhere else? And I was like, wow, no. And I was like, wow, it's a really cool video.
I remember when my children saw Tomasz in the railway station, it was just waiting when he will come to them. And they were surprised that he gives them so many things, candies and some pictures that you can draw in, and some pencil, All this we have at home. So I think it's a great moment for all of the children and for us, because most of these children from Kyiv, from Kharkiv, and they saw what is this war.
Alexandra and Olga and the multitude of brave mothers trying to shield their children from the trauma of war.
Only one person wants this war. He's a beast. I can't even call him person.
While they don't bear weapons, these women are warriors just the same.
And we wait for this victory.
It's really difficult to keep it inside.
Yet she still exudes resilience and strength in the face of unimaginable challenges.
I want to see that peace above our heads.
I want to see children stop dying. And I want to wake up from this nightmare.
So many share her sentiments. And before we go tonight, the image of the day. Volunteers assemble sandbags to cover and protect a monument in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv, a poignant reminder that life, property, and culture remained threatened in the deadly war between Russia and Ukraine. And that is our show for this hour. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context analysis of the day's top stories. Thanks so much for streaming with us. In the next hour, we'll have more on the war in Ukraine, including the American vets who have traveled to this region to train ordinary citizens fighting for their freedom. We'll also speak to a Ukrainian member of parliament about those peace talks. And back at home, the powerful moment in the White House. More on President Biden's historic signing of the landmark Emmett Till anti-lynching bill. Stay with us.
Most powerful stories of our time, anytime. Nightline.
Now streaming on ABC News Live 2020. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues, The Hunt. True crime 2020. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
Admit it. These days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
It's all about you.
I know what happened, and I'm not guilty.
Why the fascination with criminal trials? Figure out what's really out there.
She revealed she had murdered his family.
I know in my heart that he did this.
It's the time of suspicion.
The ending's really tough.
You don't know whether truth is going to be difficult to find. unless you try to find it.
America's #1 news, ABC News. Most watched, most trusted, and streaming live to you anytime, anywhere, and free. This is ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news, free to you 24/7. Watch America's #1 news whenever you want it, wherever you are, anytime. ABC News Live, streaming live and free on all platforms.
Hi there, I'm Lindsay Davis. Thanks so much for streaming with us. We're monitoring several developments here at ABC News at this hour. In an apparent coordinated action, at least 4 European allies have expelled dozens of Russian diplomats. The Netherlands alone said that it was giving 17 Russians the boot, who it described as intelligence officers masquerading as diplomats. Belgium ejected 21. Last week here in Poland, 45 Russians were expelled as relations between Russia and the West continue to deteriorate. And in the UK, authorities seized a $50 million yacht in London's Canary Wharf. Officials did not say who it belonged to, but did say the person has close ties to Vladimir Putin. The 190-foot yacht included a penthouse apartment, a freshwater swimming pool, and a, quote, infinite wine cellar. And a top FBI official has warned a House committee that since the Ukraine invasion, Russians have been scanning critical U.S. cyber infrastructure. The official likening it to regular crime, saying Russians are doing reconnaissance surveillance right now to understand potential vulnerabilities that can be exploited. And tonight, possible signs of hope to end the war in Ukraine. Potentially, Ukrainian and Russian diplomats held the first face-to-face talks in several weeks. Russia calling today's talks constructive and agreeing to drastically scale back its troops around Kyiv. But the White House is skeptical of that promise, and our team on the ground is continuing to hear missiles striking the Kyiv suburbs. James Longman reports in from Kyiv.
Tonight, Russia now signaling a major shift in strategy. Following direct face-to-face peace talks today in Turkey, the Kremlin is now saying for the first time that it will drastically reduce combat operations around the capital of Kyiv and Chernihiv in the north, but later adding that does not mean a ceasefire. Ukrainian soldiers won't be dropping their guard. The White House tonight saying they are seeing Russian troops move away from Kyiv, but stress they believe the movement is a redeployment, not a withdrawal. Tonight, President Biden speaking with European leaders, greeting Russia's promise skeptically.
We'll see. I don't read anything into it until I see what their actions are. We'll see if they follow through on what they're suggesting.
And tonight, the Pentagon is hardly convinced the Russians mean what they say.
We're not taking anything they say at face value. We're not prepared to buy the Russian argument that it's a withdrawal. Again, our assessment is that their intention is to reposition forces and bolster their efforts elsewhere.
Tonight, Russian troops are here, just 15 miles from the center of Kyiv to the north, west and east. Over 10 incidents of Russian shelling into residential areas were reported near the city today. If they do pull back, they may redeploy here to the eastern Donbass region, which today they said they want to liberate. That sets up the next phase of this bloody war and not something Ukraine would accept as part of any deal. Both sides also suggesting a meeting is possible between Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Zelensky, but only when an agreement is signed. Ukraine tonight calling for a new system of legally binding security guarantees. So, if the country is attacked in the future, there's a treaty in place, similar to NATO's Article 5, where guarantor countries, including the US, will be legally obligated to provide weapons and impose a no-fly zone. In exchange, and once Russian troops are gone, Ukraine would agree to become a non-nuclear, neutral state. The war still raging. Russia today striking the city of Mykolaiv in the south. New video, seen here in slow motion, shows the moment of impact when a missile slams into a government building. It killed at least 12 people. Dozens more were injured.
Our thanks to James Longman reporting in from Kyiv for us. And for more on the state of play in Ukraine, I want to bring in Lesha Zabrana. She is a member of the Ukrainian parliament and was part of a delegation that met today with U.S. lawmakers in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let's start with today's peace talks in Istanbul. And we have the clearest readout yet of what Ukrainian negotiators are proposing. It includes legally binding security guarantees that would compel certain countries, including the U.S., to provide arms and impose a no-fly zone if Ukraine is attacked. In exchange, Ukraine would become a non-nuclear state of permanent neutrality. Explain the rationale behind a deal like that.
Thank you for invitation. First of all, I would like to start and to say thank you very much for the American people which support we feel every day. You know that now we have a terrible situation in Ukraine. We have a war, and I would like to highlight that it's not a war between Russia and Ukraine. It's a war between evil and democracy world. So we have to be very, very supportively each to other, and we have together to solve this problem. Today we have negotiations between our country and between Russia, but we are not sure that it will be implemented in the nearest future. Now, in Washington, D.C., we are a delegation of 5 women parliamentarians, and we are asking for the Congress, Senate, to all American people to support our country in this terrible struggle. And first of all, what we need military aid, we need sanctions, more strict sanctions. And of course, we need to look for a new financial instruments which will help our economy.
At a press conference today, one MP in your delegation called the peace negotiations a, quote, smokescreen for Putin. Why do you believe the negotiations might just be a smokescreen?
Today we had a wonderful meeting with Ukrainian caucus in Congress. We really saw a great support from our colleagues from the Congress, from both parties, and we discussed these main issues. And I suppose that in future we will find solution, but we have to do it very quickly because we haven't time. Even now, when we have interview, I understand that now in my country, a lot of kids, women, civilian people are dying.
And on the Russian side, they claim that they'll pull back on offensive near Kyiv and in Chernihiv. President Zelensky said in response that Russia still has significant potential to attack, and President Biden is taking a wait-and-see approach. Your delegation says that Putin has yet to respect the international rule of law. How skeptical do you feel that the world should be about Russia's claims?
First of all, I would like to say that we highly appreciate the position of President Biden. He told that he will be with our country and all American society will be with us till the end, but we believe that the end will be the victory. And one question is time. President Zelensky now is a really great leader, and he demonstrates for all countries in the world his huge potential, and we believe that together President Zelensky, President Biden will find solution and will stop Putin. Because as I told you, it's not only our battle, it's a battle of all democratic world. And I believe that the United States is a leader in this sphere. So President Biden also has to demonstrate his leadership in this process.
At the same time, we're also seeing new attacks, including one today on a government building near the Black Sea that killed at least a dozen people. The number of refugees fleeing Ukraine is rapidly approaching 4 million. Describe the destruction that your country is experiencing and continues to experience.
Unfortunately, you're absolutely right. If we talk, for example, about economy, I can tell you that now we have state budget deficit about $7 billion per month. We have about more than 400 destroyed schools, hospitals. We have absolutely destroyed big cities such as Mariupol, Bucha, Chernihiv, and every day we have new bomb attacks, we have new destroyed cities, but the most important, we have hundreds, thousands of killed civilian people. And it's impossible to imagine in the capital of European country in the 21st century.
Leisha Zabrana, we thank you so much for your time, and just so sorry for what you continue to deal with, you as an individual and also for your country as well.
Thank you very much for your support and concern. Thank you.
And we turn now to the American vets who are voluntarily heading into the war zone. They've traveled to Ukraine to train civilians so desperately fighting for their freedom. ABC's Juju Chang has the details on why they're willing to risk everything for those hoping to take back their country.
This is the sound of war. The sound of defiance. This is what it sounds like to fight for your life.
This is probably the most defined line between good and evil and right and wrong.
Ukraine is a country under siege. Its military and ordinary citizens alike battling back Russian forces for more than a month now.
I want people around the world to have the ability to control their own destiny.
Thank you.
Tonight, the Americans risking their lives in this fight for freedom.
They want to be free, they need to be free, and we need to give them the tools to help them be free.
Why these men are traveling into danger, thousands of miles from home.
What this piece does on the front of your gun.
And putting everything on the line to help strangers.
I think everybody understood when we signed up for this that this is a fight that might kill us and that we all need to be prepared to die. I work as a chemist for a major pharmaceutical company. I think I probably am in a pretty small group of the people at my pharmaceutical company who will be using all of their leave time to fight in Ukraine. I want to be on the right side of history, and what they are doing is a fight worth fighting.
Damian Bastian knows what it means to swear allegiance to a cause. It's in his blood.
My father was in the Army in the late 60s, early 70s. My grandfather was in World War II. I was in the Air Force. So this is Tika T3 Tactical, bolt action rifle, 308. So this is something that... Shooting for me was something that came oddly naturally. I was really into marksmanship.
This month, instead of using his vacation time to relax on a beach,
when I'm going to the airport
he's headed for the battle zone in Ukraine.
I have a sleeping bag rated to 0 degrees Fahrenheit or above. Bringing 2 sets of body armor in case anybody else needs it. This has the incorporation of side sappies, so that way if you get shot in the side, you actually keep your rib cage intact. K-bar because war. I have my RATS tourniquet. So this is designed so you could tourniquet yourself, so you don't bleed out alone. I'm hoping to be able to clown car all of this together because all of this weight is, is just adding to every footstep I take.
Bastian is teaming up with his friend, Matthew Van Dyke. They've done this before, driving back ISIS in Iraq and arming civilians in the Philippines.
So Matthew Van Dyke is a very interesting individual. He's a hyper-intelligent person.
Van Dyke runs a nonprofit called Sons of Liberty International, providing advice, supplies, and training for people living in conflict zones.
Yeah, his is right there, and he's got some room in his. Matt does not have a military background, but he has worked with the militaries of many nations. He's definitely a force.
Our mission is to help people liberate themselves. When people are invested in their own fight and they bleed for it and they suffer for it, the outcome's better and what they do with the outcome is better.
Van Dyke is a documentary filmmaker, but in 2011, he joined the fight in Libya against dictator Muammar Gaddafi. At one point, he was wounded, captured, and spent nearly 6 months in prison.
Cell 3, this is my cell. It certainly changed the course of my life. It, in a way, radicalized me for the cause of liberty.
Bastian and Van Dyke believe the people of Ukraine have shown they have what it takes to fight. They just need the skills.
We want them to be as deadly as they can, so maybe the Russian people will blink first.
I like to say that Ukrainian willpower will defeat Russian firepower.
Last month, we caught up with a group of foreign fighters, including some Americans, helping train civilians in the outskirts of Kyiv, just days before Russia invaded. The key word here, resistance.
Right now, we're teaching just basic tactics,
how to hold a rifle correctly. There's mothers, fathers, sons, and daughters here. There's no reason for them to die or be displaced because of Russian aggression, so anything that I can do in order to help these people defend themselves or defend their families, I want to do it.
So one of the most significant contributions these individual volunteers can make is if they bring niche expertise or experience, especially technical expertise, to the Ukrainian military. These are the sorts of things that the Ukrainians can use.
Ukraine receives crucial support from Western allies, including supplies and weapons, filling a major gap for the country's military. But the U.S. says it will not send any troops to directly fight in Ukraine.
While a lot of people are fleeing Ukraine, one thing that's encouraging from our perspective is how many are staying or coming back to resist and to fight.
In Poland, Bastian, Van Dyke, and other members of their team are greeted by their first real sight of the war's impact, the growing refugee crisis. Heading toward the violence these families are escaping.
This is absolutely a critical moment in history. Such a distinct demarcation between, the sides of good and evil and just democracy versus tyranny. The end of this will change the world.
It took about a full day to get to this, and then it should be about 4 hours to the crossing.
The team spent hours on board a bus, prepping and planning.
And how much is each room? We've arranged contacts ahead of time that we'll meet with who are connected with groups that need training.
I think everybody, when we signed up, we had to take a long look in the mirror and realize that this is a fight that might kill us and that we all need to be prepared to die.
Once inside Ukraine, the team decides to head to the much-targeted capital.
It looks like we were in Kyiv.
Yeah. This is it?
You guys ready to do this?
Ready to do this.
This city, so much the symbol of Ukraine's defiance, where President Zelensky walks the streets, where residents hunker down in shelters, where they've managed to not just hold off the Russians, but actually drive them back.
Kyiv is clearly a city under siege. Most businesses have closed. A lot of people have left. Parts of it are almost like a ghost town. Parts of it have more people. A lot of checkpoints. My team and I brought tactical equipment. We also have a drone with some special capabilities. We don't travel with weapons. We always require weapons in country.
It's a new rifle for him.
So he's zeroing
and
it?
It's not so simple, the rifle.
We focus on mainly the tactics and marksmanship training for their soldiers to increase the lethality of their snipers and of their fire teams.
1, 2, 3.
Gotcha.
It's good. All right, good work.
Thank you.
Here, Bastian and Van Dyke met with the Territorial Defense Forces, a sort of military reserve, which has expanded to include civilian volunteers.
One very skilled marksman can make a pretty substantial impact on the battlefield. You might be able to halt an attack, or at least make it so disjointed that they won't be fighting as one cohesive force.
It's good, really good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no doubt that Ukraine can win this conflict. They should persist. They shouldn't try to accept anything less than every Russian soldier out of Ukraine. And I think that the tide of war has already turned in favor of the Ukrainian forces and will continue to.
After a few days in the capital, the group heads back west to Lviv. The whole point is to repeat this training over and over, getting them comfortable handling their government-issued weapons.
You want this into this part of your shoulder. You don't want it too far out, or you're going to dislocate your shoulder. Today we're at the range. We're going over with the Ukrainian territorial defense teams and some of the other militia groups in the area. Just make sure you're stable. Stand like you could take a punch.
Well, that's a new gun for me, so I shoot it first time today.
Here, a young man who called himself Yuri showed up for training.
My father also joining territory defense. He says that's what a man should do when somebody invades their country.
This training will be Bastian's last one, at least for now. He has to head home.
Try again for the direct bullseye. If the need should arise, if the tide of war should change, if I'm invited back, it is something I will do.
Van Dyke will stay here in the region for as long as it takes.
They want to be free. They need to be free.
Both men hope that freedom overcomes tyranny.
Any contribution I can give, even if it, even if this is just like, one city that gets to be free a week longer, as long as we can have an impact and we could change some of the lives there, then it's worth it.
Our thanks to Juju for that. And switching gears now, a 14-year-old child was taken from his home, brutally beaten, shot, and killed. And now, nearly 70 years after that horrible crime, the family of Emmett Till finally feels some semblance of justice after President Biden officially signed the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act this afternoon. The bill is the first legislation of its kind in more than 100 years that will be signed into law. ABC congressional correspondent Rachel Scott has the details.
Tonight, a historical moment, more than 100 years in the making. President Biden signing the Emmett Till Anti-Lynching Act into law. Lynching, now a federal hate crime.
Lynching was pure terror to enforce the lie that not everyone belongs in America, not everyone is created equal.
To this day, it's still unknown just how many people have been lynched. Over 4,000 have been documented, including 14-year-old Emmett Till, brutally beaten and shot in Mississippi in 1955, accused of whistling at a white woman. His cousin Ollie Gordon lived with his family in Chicago. She told me this day would be full of emotion.
I would think about Emmett. I would think about his mother and the many, many other mothers that had to endure such pain because of hate.
Over the years, this legislation failed more than 200 times. Today, in the Rose Garden of the White House, Gordon standing behind the president, a witness to the history her family fought decades for.
I mean, we're looking at a day like this all these years later, and finally, we have an anti-lynching bill. It bears the name of Emmett.
So emotional for so many. Rachel Scott joins us now. And Rachel, what's the maximum amount of time that a person could face for committing this kind of crime?
All right, Lindsay. So under this new law, those who are convicted can face up to 30 years in prison. And, in the Rose Garden today, the president acknowledging recent hate crimes. He says this is not just about the past. This moment is about the present and about the future. Lindsay?
All right, Rachel Scott, our thanks to you as always. Now to the latest in the fight against COVID. The FDA has authorized a second booster for Americans over 50 years old who are determined to be a vulnerable age group. This guidance comes as half of eligible people have yet to get their initial booster. ABC's Eva Pilgrim has this report for us.
Tonight, a green light for a second booster shot of Moderna and Pfizer for Americans over 50 and the immunocompromised. Health officials pointing to waning protection.
If it's been at least 4 months since you've been vaccinated with your first booster dose, you should seriously consider getting another booster dose.
The new boosters will be available to anyone over 50, but the CDC says they are especially important for people over 65 and people over 50 with underlying health conditions, which puts them at higher risk for severe outcomes from COVID.
If you're older, probably you walk a little faster to get the fourth shot.
These boosters can go into arms right away at pharmacies and doctors' offices.
If this is something that's going to keep me and my family and my friends from getting sick, then I'm willing to do it.
The FDA is also telling Americans to be prepared for another booster this fall. The hope is that this latest round of boosters will help protect against a new wave of COVID like we are now seeing overseas. The highly contagious subvariant BA2 is now dominant in the U.S., making up an estimated 55% of new infections.
It's starting to create a surge in many parts of the country. So it makes sense that many people may want to up their immunity as we potentially head into a surge.
Concerns about yet another surge. Our thanks to Eva for that. And still to come, we are here in Poland, where the generosity toward Ukrainian refugees has been extraordinary. But this country is not alone in the region in the outpouring of love, as our Maggie Ruley found out firsthand. And Britain's Queen Elizabeth and Prince Andrew side by side in public, and it had a lot of people shaking their heads.
It was a scary time. In the 70s, you had multiple bodies showing up in Los Angeles.
There were so many murders happening. You had to have a name for it, serial killer.
There was a human head in there. This was premeditated evil.
We have this clock. This person is going to do this again.
It's me against the killer. Who's going to win?
We'll see who laughs last.
What came next was unlike anything they had ever seen.
America's #1 news, ABC News. Most watched, most trusted, and streaming live to you anytime, anywhere, and free. This is ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news, free to you 24/7. Watch America's #1 news whenever you want it, wherever you are, anytime. ABC News Live, streaming live and free on all platforms.
National parks are incredibly safe places, but crime will happen.
My wife is fallen. She's in really critical condition.
At that time, I thought it was just a tragic accident.
There's still a lot of questions we need to ask.
There were small things that didn't totally add up.
This is 2 lives for Harold that have died now. I was shocked. Something's not right.
Now streaming on ABC News Live 2020. True crime, cinematic, real-life drama, stunning, the unthinkable. Follow the clues, The Hunt. True crime 2020. Now streaming on ABC News Live. Take America's #1 news with you, anywhere you go, anytime, free. Download the ABC News app now. Breaking news, exclusives, 24/7. There for you with one touch. The ABC News app. Download it now.
Welcome back. While the majority of Ukrainians who have fled their homes have come here to Poland, there are 4 other countries on Ukraine's western and southern borders that have also seen an influx of refugees since this conflict began raging 1 month ago. So ABC's Maggie Rulli traveled along that border to see how those countries are opening up and the concern about what comes next.
More than 650 miles through wide-open, empty lands and tightly packed villages, our team drove the southern border of Ukraine. Standing at the crossings, where more than 1 million Ukrainian refugees have escaped in the past month. Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, Moldova. Their borders are open, but compared to Poland, these southern countries are much smaller, often have far fewer resources, and they live with their own complicated relationship with Russia. The only non-NATO, non-EU country along the border, Moldova shares more in common with Ukraine than perhaps any other country. But at just a fraction of the size, the number of refugees passing over the border this past month is crushing, now making up about 15% of the country's entire population. We just crossed over the border here into Moldova, and not only is it the smallest country to share a border with Ukraine, it's also the poorest in all of Europe, which means that even though they're opening up their borders, the burden here of taking on these refugees is being felt by everyone. With few resources and a growing number of people in need, Moldova transformed itself overnight, finding any way they could to help.
They're like our brothers. I love Ukraine. I visit Ukraine. I have relatives. My grandfather is from Ukraine.
At just 17, Katie immediately threw herself into the volunteer effort, showing up to help at this old cinema. It had been standing empty for 4 years, now converted into a shelter, able to house 200 people.
They are our brothers, our neighbors.
Her work meant a safe place to sleep last night for Irina and her 4-year-old son, Arkady. Irina didn't want to leave Odessa. Her other son turned 18 in October and is now old enough to fight and isn't allowed to leave Ukraine. She and her young son left after a gut-wrenching conversation with her eldest, who told her she had to go to save his little brother so that at least one son would survive. There's a shared kinship felt across the border here. Like Ukraine, Moldova was part of the USSR. Families often live across borders, and the two countries call each other brothers. There's also a shared understanding of the threat Russia poses. Perhaps no other country can really empathize with the fear of Russian aggression better than Moldova, a former Soviet country. It only became independent in 1991. There are attacks happening in Odessa right now, less than 40 miles from its border. And years ago, Russia took over a part of the country, an area called Transnistria, just about an hour from us here in the capital. So many people here tell us they're watching what happens in Ukraine and are living in fear of what could happen to them next. Dan Romanescu was born in Transnistria. He's now letting refugees stay in his rental properties in the city. And you were saying where you were born is actually now controlled by Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that scary at all to know that?
Yeah. In my opinion, everybody who is living at the moment there, they are like zombie because of Russian propaganda. They are thinking that Russia is the best country in the world.
He says he knows they could be next, but until then, Moldova will keep fighting for their neighbors. Hungary's border with Ukraine runs just 84 miles, the smallest of any country. It's dotted with small towns that can often feel like they're from another time. Here in Bereg-Sharam, it is a tiny town. Just about 600 people live here. And we're right on the border. Ukraine is just about a mile that way. So when war broke out, all of a sudden, there were thousands of refugees fleeing through these quiet streets. The town scrambled, filling a local gym full of beds for refugees and setting up this welcome center. And a surreal sight for such a small village, a presidential visit. Hungary's president-elect Katalin Novak handing out pancakes to refugees, something that's become a tradition here in town.
When people are really fleeing from their homes, then we are there to help them, and that's what we should do.
Stop, everybody, stop! But Hungary's relationship with refugees and migrants is complicated and often controversial. The UN criticizing Prime Minister Viktor Orban for what they call his harsh migration policies. His government erecting a razor wire fence to keep out people fleeing war and conflict in places like Syria in 2015. This small town and the incoming president, traditionally conservative and against migration from outside Europe. Now, they're welcoming Ukrainians fleeing violence within Europe with open arms, a contrast on full display.
Hungarian people are peace-loving people. That is for us very important, and Hungarian people are welcoming people. So we always welcome refugees. Our position vis-a-vis migration, mass migration, it's another issue.
For now, Hungary and its small border towns keeping their arms open for Ukrainian refugees. Romania's border with Ukraine stretches 381 long and often empty miles. You can see how much open space there is here. Romania has the largest border with Ukraine of any other EU country, and so many people we meet say they chose to escape here because they can simply afford it. The cost of basic goods in Romania is some of the cheapest in all of the EU. Perhaps a small reprieve for some Ukrainians. The war only exasperating economic challenges. Wives forced to leave their husbands behind, suddenly becoming the sole providers for their children. We meet Alana Yakubento and her daughter Katya moments after they cross the border. Katya's eyes light up when she sees the bag of toys put out by UNICEF and Save the Children. Beaver! Katya's mom tells us they're from Kyiv and live right by the TV tower that was hit a few weeks ago. When one of Katya's classmates was killed, she knew it was time to go. UNICEF says more than half of all Ukrainian children have been forced to flee their homes. Some, often teenagers, come alone. They've set up blue dot safety points along the borders, making sure all kids and families know they have a safe place to go. The border is just about 100 yards up that way, and the blue dot is like one of the first things that families see when they cross the border. Why is that so important?
It is important because they can be informed here about the children, the protection, not to be in a risk.
Katya's one of the lucky ones. She left with one of her parents. They're safe now, but their hearts are torn. Katya's dad had to stay back in Kyiv. She FaceTimes him to let him know they made it safely to the other side. Katya clutching her new stuffed animal the entire time. Less than a mile from the Ukrainian border in Slovakia, Father Pavel Novak welcomes us into his church. It's so beautiful. a beacon of faith built by this small community years ago. He says its doors are now open to refugees fleeing from Ukraine, regardless of their beliefs. Since the start of the war, Father Pavel's welcomed more than 100 refugees, giving them a home in this former school nearby. When we visit, 34 people are living here, many fleeing from Ukraine's hard-hit east.
Are these your kids?
Yes. Alona escaped here with her sister-in-law Anastasia and their kids from Kyiv. They both had to leave their husbands behind. But seeing their kids now, laughing and playing with their cousins, it's here, she says, with Father Pavel, that she finally found peace.
Spooky.
It's one of 24 homes that this small region has opened up. Everything inside donated by locals. Kirill and his mom Anastasia share this small room with her friend Victoria. They're now safe, waiting here until they figure out where they can move next. But for Victoria, her heart is torn. Her entire family was left behind.
Hello.
She says she's grateful Father Pavel let her keep her dog with her. It's the only piece of home she now has.
No puppy.
Father Pavel offering what little happiness he can. He tells us how in Orthodox Christianity, the sermons are always sung, and as the sun sets, he prays for all of those who pass through these doors.
This is where they come to forget the pain, the suffering, the bad thoughts that they have. Here, they can really feel the peace.
His house of worship, so close to the chaos of war, offering what feels like a brief moment away from it all. As the numbers of those fleeing continue to grow and fears of a second, even larger wave of refugees loom, many worry that these small countries may not remain so welcoming. But for now, we find countries opening up their doors and their hearts to their neighbor. We stumble into this little slice of joy in Moldova's capital of Chisinau, of life being lived well, a people giving back, knowing that one day they too may need help.
The emergency response to the war in Ukraine has focused in on the nearly 4 million people who have fled for safety, including 1.8 million children. UNICEF has scaled up its efforts to help protect and take care of those children and their families. UNICEF Goodwill Ambassador and actor Orlando Bloom joins us now to talk about UNICEF's efforts. Orlando, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. It's great that you're there.
So you recently went to Moldova to meet some of the refugees staying there. Tell us about the people who you met and also share some of their stories.
I did, yeah, I was there last week. I think one of the things that struck me sort of immediately is that in Moldova, nearly 80% of the refugees arriving in Moldova are staying in host families. I met a remarkable man called Hugo who'd had, I believe, 20 families already through his home within the first 3 weeks, so 4 weeks as soon as the war began. And he was rather wonderful, actually. He even called them special guests rather than refugees. He was a really remarkable man.
Special guests, that is probably a more endearing term, as you say. And UNICEF has established these blue dot hubs for families seeking refuge. Explain what these blue dot spaces are.
Yeah, so in Moldova and along the border there, basically when the women and children come in, and I'm sure as you're experiencing, they're just completely shell-shocked. And so it's an opportunity for them to, the women can hand over their children in a safe space. The children can have a sense of connection to play and toys, and they can just take a moment and then rest, have a meal, and then also sort of think about where they might be going next and what the future holds and what their options are.
And you talked about, many of the mothers leaving with their children. In some cases, it's children alone who are fleeing by themselves. What's the concern for unaccompanied or separated children, and what do we need to do in order to protect them?
The amazing thing about the Blue Dot is that they'll register families, they'll take any documentation they have so that they can know who they are and where they are. But as you say, undocumented underage, undocumented children traveling alone are, of course, the major concern is that they get trafficked and taken into society in a way that is out of our hands or out of our knowing, and then, you know, who knows what happens. So it's really what UNICEF has done is register families and unaccompanied minors.
And Moldova is among the poorest countries in Europe, and yet still they are opening their doors to their neighbors in Ukraine. What can you say about the generosity of the people of Moldova?
It's truly, truly remarkable. I mentioned, Hugo, of course, that everybody I met, they just roll up their sleeves and are doing everything they can. They understand. I think, you know, having been through their own conflicts, of course, and not so long ago themselves, they are just remarkable, really. We visited another center where, you know, there are so many volunteers who are helping with the children. I'm seeing the photographs now, and they come in and out, and these young women and men come in to just play with the kids and engage with them and create this safe space and build toys, and it's psychosomatic care, all of the essential things that you can imagine that and even that you can't think of. UNICEF's providing on the ground, which is a great relief.
And you've been a UNICEF ambassador since 2009. What first inspired you to get involved?
I think it's that the children, and this really is a child's refugee crisis, are the most vulnerable and are in need of our attention more than anyone. And obviously, you know, UNICEF is this remarkable organization that's been doing this, and I've seen it now I've been on so many field trips, many over the years, but I suppose my love of life and my appreciation of having kids of my own. I have an 11 and a 2.5-year-old, and the idea that either of my children or anyone's children should be going through what we cannot really fathom. It's not until you're sitting or standing in front of these children that you really feel the grief and the pain and how fortunate we are.
Yeah, certainly they will need help for many months and years to come. For our viewers who would like to help these refugees, or as you referred to them so aptly, so appropriately as the special guests, how can people help and get involved with UNICEF?
I think you can go onto the website and you can certainly give whatever you can to help them to continue doing the work that they do, essentially. I spoke to so many friends who were like, we're coming over, we want to be there. And of course, everybody, the instance, that you see this and you understand it, everybody wants to go. And of course, there's so much, I have so much sort of admiration for that, as I felt I needed to see it. But UNICEF is on the ground, and they've been doing this for a long time. And as I say, I was in the Ukraine just 4 years ago with in eastern Ukraine, and so they have this they have an understanding of that. So if there's anything, really, it's to give what you can to the organization so that they can get the work done and continue to do the great work that they're doing.
Orlando Bloom, we thank you so much for the great work that you are doing, and also appreciate your time and joining us tonight. And to our viewers, here's how you can help. Head to unicefusa.org/ABC.
Thank you.
And still to come, what Jada Pinkett Smith is now saying about her husband's famous slap.
Right now, with so much at stake, Sunday mornings, this is the place. Taking on all the tough questions, straightforward reporting, no spin, no hype, no bull. Thank you for making ABC's This Week with George Stephanopoulos the #1 Sunday morning news show versus the competition.
Welcome to This Week.
Take America's #1 news with you anywhere you go, anytime, free. Download the ABC News app now. Breaking news, exclusives, 24/7 24/7. There for you with one touch. The ABC News app. Download it now.
She was
diva,
drama, money and fame, amazing,
the prime housewife.
Then suddenly, we've seen a lot of things on The Real Housewives, but we've never seen anyone be arrested.
Unpredictable rich woman. Sign me up.
Ready for a little GMA-ish promo? Okay, here we go. GMA 7A every day with Robin, George, and Michael. That's how you start the day. Boom!
America's #1 news, ABC News. Most watched, most trusted, and streaming live to you anytime, anywhere, and free. This is ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news, free to you 24/7. Watch America's #1 news whenever you want it, wherever you are, anytime. ABC News Live, streaming live and free on all platforms.
After nearly 5 hours of peace talks between Russian and Ukrainian negotiators in Istanbul, Turkey, Russian officials say progress is being made. The Kremlin saying it will curtail military activity near Kiev and Chernihiv to increase trust between both sides. The Ukrainian negotiators say they want to involve other countries in the next round of peace talks in 2 weeks to establish security guarantees protecting Ukraine from future attacks. Ukraine claiming an important victory in Irpin, a suburb of Kiev. President Zelensky says Ukrainian forces have retaken the city. As the war rages on, Belgium, Ireland, the Czech Republic, and other European countries expelling dozens of Russian intelligence officers from their countries.
15-year-old TikTok star Ava Majuri taking the stand, accusing a classmate of stalking her. The second stalking case she says she's faced, tied to her social media accounts. Ava telling the court a fellow student was sharing personal information with another alleged stalker, who she told police was possibly planning to kidnap or murder her.
I'd catch him staring at me, we'd offer eye contact, and he was just always around me, no matter what.
A Florida judge dismissing the civil filing, deciding there wasn't enough evidence. Ava, who amassed over 1 million followers on the TikTok page she started as a hobby during the pandemic, garnered unwanted attention from a male follower from out of state in early 2020. And after she blocked him, he showed up to the Majuri home last July, armed with a shotgun. Ava's dad, Rob, a retired police lieutenant, intervened, grabbing a gun and killing the intruder outside the home. He has not been charged with a crime in the incident.
Foo Fighters are canceling their upcoming tour following the death of drummer Taylor Hawkins. The band released a statement today saying, "We're sorry for and share in the disappointment that we won't be seeing one another as planned. Instead, let's take this time to grieve, to heal, to pull our loved ones close, and to appreciate all the music and memories that we have made together." You may recall Hawkins was found dead in his hotel room hours before a scheduled concert in Colombia. No cause of death has yet been determined.
March Madness heating up. Louisville and UConn clinching the last 2 spots in the women's Final Four. The UConn Huskies making history against North Carolina State. But it took 2 overtimes to put them away. Paige Beckers flipping a switch, making more than half of her 27 points after the end of the second half. Top-seeded Louisville cruising to victory, fending off Michigan 62-50. Sophomore Haley Van Lith leading the Cardinals with 22 points.
The 14 girls on this team, we're doing it for each other in our city, and that's why there's emotion, because there's so much passion, and we're not done, we're going to keep working.
A tribute fit for a prince. Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. His family gathering at Westminster Abbey to give thanks for the 99-year-old's long and varied life. The 95-year-old Queen Elizabeth leading the tribute to her husband of 73 years. Her Majesty holding on to her son, Prince Andrew, for support. This his first public appearance since he settled a sexual assault lawsuit in the U.S. a few weeks ago. The family said their sad farewell last April at a small funeral, which was scaled back because of the pandemic. But today was a celebration of his life.
They don't want the shoes back, and I don't want them either.
A Chicago woman up to her ears in shoes, and now she knows why. The woman says shoes of all kinds have been showing up at her home since last summer.
And it doesn't stop. And it's absurdity.
Shoes that she never ordered, and it's taken until now to figure out that they were all Amazon returns that were supposed to be sent to China.
Welcome back. More fallout for the slap heard round the world. The Academy Board of Governors is set to meet tomorrow to discuss the Oscars moment when Will Smith hit comedian Chris Rock over a joke about Smith's wife. One board member says there will be consequences. Here's ABC's Kana Whitworth.
Tonight, reports that the Academy's Board of Governors could meet as soon as tomorrow to discuss that shocking moment at the Oscars between Will Smith and Chris Rock.
Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the out of me.
The Hollywood Reporter saying the full board was asked to convene after an emergency call a day ago. ABC News unable to confirm that reporting. But Whoopi Goldberg, a governor on the board, suggesting on The View today that Smith will face consequences.
There are consequences.
Yeah.
There are big consequences.
There has to be.
Well, yeah, because nobody is okay with what happened. Nobody.
While the Academy has initiated a formal review of the incident, Goldberg has said she does not think Smith's Best Actor Oscar, also his first, will be taken away. The news comes as Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith, the target of Rock's joke during the awards show, breaks her silence on social media, simply posting, "This is a season for healing, and I'm here for it." Late last night, Will Smith making his first public apology to Chris Rock. In a lengthy statement, Smith saying in part, "I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line and I was wrong. I am embarrassed and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be." The slap on live TV in front of millions following a joke aimed at Jada Pinkett Smith, who shaved her head last July after a years-long public battle with hair loss. It's unclear if Rock knew about her condition.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right?
After the slap, Smith then yelling to Rock.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth!
In his apology, Smith saying, "Jokes at my expense are part of the job, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear, and I reacted emotionally." Overnight, Smith's mother telling our station, WPVI in Philadelphia, the onstage violence surprised her and was uncharacteristic of her son.
That's the first time I've ever seen him go off. I've never seen him do that.
Our thanks to Kana for that. And we are tracking several headlines around the world. In Mexico, a new report by an independent panel claims Mexico's armed forces knew that the 43 students who disappeared in 2014 were going to be kidnapped by criminals. The report accuses authorities of hiding evidence that could have helped locate them. So far, the remains of only 2 of the missing students have been identified definitively. The report did not conclude what happened to the rest of the students. Mexican authorities have long denied having information about the crime and the students' whereabouts. A suspected gunman killed at least 5 people in a Tel Aviv suburb before he was fatally shot himself. In a video broadcasted by local media, a man dressed in black is seen carrying an assault rifle as he began shooting at apartment balconies and then at people on the street and also in a car. This is just the latest in a violent spree of attacks that have claimed the lives of 11 Israelis in the past week. Shoppers in Egypt are struggling with inflated prices ahead of the holy month of Ramadan. For 30 days, Muslims must abstain from eating, drinking, or smoking from dawn to dusk each day. Consumers have seen an increase in everything from groceries to even colorful lanterns. Around a third of Egypt's more than 103 million people live below the poverty line, according to official figures. And still to come here on Prime House Soccer, and one of the greatest teams in that sport, they're both offering sanctuary from war.
America's #1 news, ABC News. Most watched, most trusted, and streaming live to you anytime, anywhere, and free. This is ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news, free to you 24/7. Watch America's #1 news whenever you want it, wherever you are, anytime. ABC News Live, streaming live and free on all platforms.
Admit it, these days, what you need to know
seems to change just about every day.
What is it that you really want to know, need to know?
To help you not just get through your day,
but to make the most of it. Feel smarter.
Feel better.
Feel happier.
Well, how about a third hour of Good Morning America?
GMA 3, what you need to know. Now streaming on ABC News Live.
It's all about you.
He thought he was God.
He's now one of the most vilified men in the world. He is the everyman. Zelensky is the Tom Hanks of Ukraine.
The fact that a little nice Jewish boy is 5'7" is showing up this KGB agent in the Kremlin.
What do you say to Americans who see Russia and you not only as a rival, but an unfriendly adversary?
Two men at war.
Which Vladimir will take over. The world is not going to be the same.
I'm hearing a cat.
Hello?
Honey, I don't think it speaks English.
For this dynamic duo.
Where's this thing been all my life?
Passion.
Figured it out.
This is awesome.
Is in everything they do.
There's a horse accident.
I don't think you broke a bone down here. Thank goodness for that.
Cat squats?
Up, down.
You have to go lower.
Oh, sorry.
Heartland Docs. New season Saturday, April 23rd at 10 on Nat Geo Wild.
Thank you for making ABC's This Week Sunday morning's #1 news show versus the competition.
Finally, tonight from Warsaw, we want to take you to a place where there's only one language that really matters, a simple kick of a ball and a goal, offering a much-needed sanctuary from it all. Maria Villarreal reports here from Warsaw.
It's a blistering 45 degrees in Warsaw, Poland. The wind is kicking up and the sun hasn't come out all day. And yet these kids are playing at the Barca Soccer Academy in Warsaw in the frigid cold, as if it were a sunny day in California.
And Barcelona have the goal.
FC Barcelona is one of the most popular soccer clubs in the world, boasting more than 57 million fans and some of the game's most famous players. The Barca Soccer Academy is an international training program for kids between 6 and 18 years old. There are 49 Barca Academies on 5 continents, including this one in Warsaw. Nearly 3.7 million Ukrainians have been displaced by the ongoing war, and more than half of those refugees are children. In an effort to give them a safe space to play, the Barca Academy invited them to join. So far, they have 8 new players at this location, including 9-year-old Rostik. Yes! Rostik joined the Barca team last week.
Adaptacja była...
Rostik's aunt, Nadia Sofamawa, says football is saving him from this war, helping to make new friends in a new country. The family escaped to Poland about 3 weeks ago. His mother took a cleaning job to make ends meet, while his father stayed back to fight in Ukraine. Nadia tells us every day Rostik patiently waits for his training and is happy when he comes here. She adds he's an enthusiastic player and is fitting in well despite a language barrier. How are they communicating with each other?
We show how to play and they check what we do, and football is international language, so they understand everything.
The uncertainty of conflict is now forcing children like Rostik to create a new life in a new country. At just 9 years old, Rostik worries about his country and his father finding sanctuary on a soccer field.
Podaють, nie krzyczуть tak, dobrze strzelać, dobrze mówić do mnie.
The ultimate assist in the most unlikely place.
An international language and a much-needed one indeed. Our thanks to Maria for that. And that is our show for tonight from Poland. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. Have a great night.
With so much at stake, so much on the line, more Americans